Hey friends, Sean from Draft Therapy here, and on today's review for you, do you think they ever thought about calling this one-hearted? Lighthearted is a 3.7% IPA from Bell's Brewery in Comstock, Michigan. I've been hearing about this beer from seemingly every direction, including several of you, for what seems to be about a year, and today it's finally here. This is Bell's answer to the low-calorie IPA, much like Stone's Never-Ending Haze, which I reviewed just recently. And low-calorie IPA, for some people, also means their old, reliable, all-day IPA, or just countless others that have been on store shelves recently. This one's positioned as being a low-calorie, low ABV IPA alternative for those who don't want to drink Two Hearteds all day or be known as that guy at the party. Since this is billed as a low-calorie IPA, let's mention real quick that Lighthearted is 110 calories and 9 carbs. But how does it taste? And can it hold a candle to Bell's bigger brothers in their whole IPA lineup with such a low ABV and low calorie? But that's why you're here, so let's take a look at the label first off, and we'll get down to it. And just as an aside, if you enjoy seeing content like this, consider subscribing. Fun fact, Larry Bell says, if you close your eyes, you'd think you were drinking a pretty regular beer. Well, that's a sterling recommendation from Bell's owner. So let's take a look at the label here. It's got this kind of 70s, late 70s motif. It's got this off-white tan kind of colored can with the Bell logo on the top. It says Lighthearted Ale and just has one fish. If you ever notice from Two Hearted, it has two of the trout, two fish on the label. And it has this kind of tan to gold to yellow to orange striping across the front and these green trees with a river flowing through it. It looks to me really reminiscent of something from the 70s. And then on the side, it says brewed and canned by Bell's Brewery in Comstock, Michigan. And then it says per 12 fluid ounces, it's got 110 calories, 8.7 carbs, 1.3 grams of fat, alcohol 3.7% by volume, shelf life 6 months, has a craft beer logo on it. And this one was packaged on January 24th, 2020, which is this year. I'm recording this on February 1st. They released this in the general store on Martin Luther King Day, which was the 21st of January. I considered going and picking it up, but I figured, I could just wait a week and it would be out on shelves here. So I'm going to grab my Monday Night Brewing glass, that I picked up when I was in Atlanta. I'm going to go ahead and crack this and put a nose on the can. And putting a nose on the can here. It smells like Two Hearted. A little bit lighter, though. It's not as in-your-face punchy. Got a bit of a kind of malty, kind of caramel characteristic in there. I also pick a little bit of maybe citrus kind of piney, well, citrus hoppiness, not really, a little bit piney, but I meant more like hoppiness, more citrus kind of hoppiness. Yeah, it smells pretty good, smells pretty legit. So let's go ahead and pour this. Very clear, very light coming out of the can and into the glass here. Got a nice bit of a head on it. Not really white, maybe just a tad bit off-white, maybe a tad bit off-white like this can is, but it's about a finger and a half, maybe a little more than a finger. I'd say probably a finger and a half of head. The head's really large bubbles. There's kind of some compact kind of spots, but it's really airy. It's got a lot of space in between the bubbles. Let's go ahead and hold this up. And Two Hearted is a little bit darker than this, but this is kind of a golden color, a really nice kind of golden color, some carbonation streaming up, not hazy at all. I can see there's might be a little bit of sediment in suspension here, but it's very, very clear. I can see really very clearly through it. Let's put a better nose out of the glass here. It has a bit of a light smell to it. It doesn't smell, like I said, it doesn't smell quite as heavy as a Two Hearted. I'm kind of, with these low calorie IPAs, it's just, you got to know what to expect. So I'm kind of mentally playing it in my head, like, what am I going to expect from this? But I haven't had this yet. So down the hatch. Cheers. That's different than I was expecting. I was expecting with a low calorie, low ABV IPA that I was going to get kind of like that beer flavored cardboard kind of taste that you get with some kind of lower ABV beers. This one isn't bursting like huge explosion of flavor, but it actually has a nice bit of flavor. For 3.7%, and 110 calories. It has quite a bit of flavor. Let's get another taste. I'll actually talk you through it. So at first, the mouth feels really light, very crisp, very clean mouthfeel. Then the flavor that comes through on this, kind of holding it in your mouth, it kind of starts to get a tad bit of a bitterness, a tad bit of a kind of piney bitterness, maybe a little bit of a citrus in there. Holding it on my tongue, and then the subsequent swallow is where that kind of the IPA-ness of this beer really actually starts to come through. I get a little bit, I do get a little bit of a bitterness. I get a little bit of a citrus bitterness, a little bit of a piney bitterness. The pininess comes through a lot more than the citrus does. This is a very crushable beer. One thing I'm not picking up, that I pick up in Two Hearted quite a bit, is that kind of malty characteristic. That's what really sets Two Hearted apart for me, is not only the cascade kind of hop flavor, the pininess, the citrus, but also that really nice malty kind of caramel characteristic. And this kind of, I would think that they kind of lightened up on the malts in order to keep the calories down. They probably had to cut down on the malt as well. But yeah, actually really crushable. It's got a little bit, the finish is a little dry. Don't get me wrong, it's not going to substitute Two Hearted. It's not going to, it's not going to replace Two Hearted in your fridge if you're a Two Hearted all the time kind of guy. You're not, or girl, you're not going to instantly not buy Two Hearted anymore. But I could see the place in this, and I was really expecting, with the lower ABV, with the lower calorie kind of beer, the ones that I've had recently haven't really been all that spectacular to me. Like, it's great that they have lower ABV and lower calories, but if the flavor is not there, then it's not really worth trying, in my opinion. But this one's a little bit different. It's not as good as Two Hearted because it's not Two Hearted. I don't think it's trying to be Two Hearted. It tastes like a low calorie IPA, but it tastes like a really serviceable low calorie and low ABV IPA. It's something that I feel like you could drink and feel like you're not skipping out on the beer flavor. Like when I've had a lot of lower ABV beers, they just don't have all the flavor that something that's usually kind of higher ABV, higher calorie beers have. This one has, it's not like going to blow you away with all the flavor, but being 110 calories, again, 3.7% ABV, it has a lot of flavor to spare. And I was kind of curious if I was going to, want to drink the rest of the six pack that I bought, or if it was going to be those ones where I go to a party, I'm like, hey, try this. Hey, try this. This might be one that I actually keep and drink when I want to drink a beer, or I have that kind of craving for a beer, but I don't want to get overboard and drink a whole 7% Two Hearted or some other kind of IPA. I could see this being a really good kind of everyday substitute when you don't want to, go too far into that kind of buzz territory, but you just want to have a beer and relax and not drink a lager or drink a macro or drink something with not a lot of flavor. There's not a whole lot of bursting flavor, but what is there is very good, and it's very serviceable, very crushable, and a really nice example of a low calorie IPA. All right, friends, that has been Lighthearted IPA from Bell's Brewery in Comstock, Michigan. Have you had this? Do you find yourself picking up more low ABV or low calorie beers lately? And what are some of the better ones you had? Let me know in the comments down below. And while you're down there, if you like beer, you might want to subscribe and click that bell, because I'm here talking about beer twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's all for free for viewers just like you, and you might miss your newest favorite if you're not subscribed. So until next time, I'm Sean from Draft Therapy. Thanks for stopping by, and remember, drink craft beer, support your local breweries wherever they are, and don't forget, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Thanks for watching. Cheers.